you go to math class and you're learning that math and all the people that made advances in math were all white. You learn in science class, all the scientists and made advancements to humanity were all white. You go to pretty much every class, history, you learn that same thing, like how much greatness and things that white folks accomplished and that black people were fighting for civil rights and they were slaves and all these things. So thinking about the dynamics of that, and if my daughter goes through this educational system, she's going to come out with low self-esteem, and my son as well. So how do I interrupt that?
What the summer program of MasterMine University did was it allowed them to apply what they learned in the classroom.
Yes.
In a way that applied directly to them. And that is how we taught in Africa.
You are now on a social experiment.
See now where my limit is. Only got no.
Thank you for joining us today on the journey towards self-mastery. Today we are here with MasterMine University, Professor Kaba Hiawatha Kamene, one of our MVP instructors for our MasterMine University Summer Academy. So we are doing our instructor series, taking a look at the summer program, how it flowed, how it went. And today, Professor Kamene said he wanted to talk to me and interview me. So this should be a really interesting discussion about the summer, our MasterMine University program, and the things that we're trying to do with the students and really trying to reshape education for Black students and their outlook on it, the parents' outlook on it, and restructure, some of the realities for our children. So, Professor Kaba Kamene, how you doing today, man?
Oh, brother, I am doing excellent, man. I'm still really enjoying and thinking about what we went through in the summer during that 6-week program of MasterMine University. For me, it was beneficial because you see, brother, we always talk about what we should do, which is good, but I like it when we're doing it. And the MasterMine University gave me an opportunity because I'm going to begin to go out on tour specifically to teach the community how to do what you actually did. Because it's important for our community to see and to be realistic in what it is that you're doing. Because a lot of times when we see what we have to do, sometimes it becomes very overwhelming because we have so much that we have to catch up on and so much that we have to do. Sometimes it becomes overwhelming and we wonder where we can start. But I think the way you structured the MasterMine University this summer, July and August, was a very practical, I don't want to call it simple, straightforward attempt at bringing some fine minds together to present themselves to the children. I mean, there are just things I'm thinking about. And, I know you're going to talk about it as time goes on, but I remember that reptile guy, that his public program on TV where he was fascinated with reptiles. But at the same time, he spoke to the students about their aspirations in life. And he talked about how a lot of times when he was growing up and he was always interested in reptiles, people would tell him, well, what you going to do with that? Why you want to do something like that? It's better to do over here. But he kept stressing he just enjoyed reptiles. He just enjoyed studying them. He enjoyed science. And then he told the students, look where I am. And he showed the different programs that he had when he did different things with reptiles on TV, talking about, showed he had that safari hat on. And, he just did a great presentation. The other gentleman that did the AI program talked about AI. But again, he talked not only about AI, but he also told them and connected with them and said, you can call me anytime. I'm here to support you. I'm here if you have any questions. So the way in which you put the program together, it was of interest. It was very interesting because when I would come on, I would come on 15 minutes ahead of my time, 2:00 in the afternoon. I'd come on 1:45. And I just enjoyed the person that was doing the program before me. To the point where, I remember one time, the brother was really getting into the subject and the students was really getting into him, asking him so many important questions. And he apologized to me. If you remember, he said, I'm sorry, I'm taking up your time because it was going past 2:00. I said, hey, listen, brother, take your time. You're doing a phenomenal job. This is what the students need. And the fact that they're so engaged with you, you just keep it going. I'm here. We'll work it out somehow. Because they were so engaged with him as they were with all the other. And then the chef. Okay, but I'm not going to say too much because I'm going to let you get into how you brought all of these people together. But I was just so impressed, brother. And, you and I have spoken. And like, I just wanted to ask you about the very beginnings of your educational career, because you're in Long Island now as an educator, but you were teaching in the Bronx.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
But at the same time, you and I started talking, and I did podcasts with you long before the MasterMine University.
Yes, sir.
So how about that, brother? Talk to us about, your background and how you got to understand the work that I was doing, and from that point on, the podcast.
Got you. I don't know how far in the beginning you want me to start at, but
start your first day of school in the Bronx.
Okay.
What
even
made
before
you
that,
become a teacher.
There we go. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. So originally, I did not want to be a teacher because I kind of, growing up in school, I simulated teaching with, a lot of, white people, and it just was boring. The type of student that I was smart, but when I got to school, it was so boring to me that I would just fall asleep in every class, and it was just like I didn't really see myself in a lot of the classes. There were a few classes that were exceptions to the rule. I had like a African literacy class that I found to be interesting, and a sports marketing class that I found to be interesting, that the teachers were engaging. I had an English class where my teacher was, he would act out the lines and things like that. But even looking at the books that he would choose to read, they still didn't really identify with me. So a lot of my educational experience was boring. I was really bored. And I equated that to just what it would be moving forward. So I told my mom, like, I don't really want to go to college. Like, I just want to figure things out and, maybe take a year off. And, my mom was like, yeah, not in this house. It's like, you better get your butt to college. So I'm like, all right, let me figure this out here. What am I going to go to college for? So I started thinking, there was this kid in my neighborhood that I used to play basketball with. He was a little older and he was a physical therapist. So he would tell me about his job and what he did. And the word easy stuck out to me. Like, he said, so easy. I just really touch people, ask them if this hurts, that hurts. And then, do this and that, and they're gone and I get paid or whatever. So to me, it seemed pretty easy. He had like a nice car. He had girls and stuff like that. And I'm like, this seems pretty easy and simple. Let me give it a shot. So I go to school in mind of becoming a physical therapist.
Where is this brother, Mr.
So I grew up,
go to school.
I grew up in Uniondale, in Long Island. Yeah. When I was, in the park with this guy, like it just really seemed interesting to me, the physical therapy component. So I said, you know what, let me do that. Let me really look into physical therapy. He's enjoying his job and it might be a cool thing. So I go to school with that in mind. And when I get to school, they change physical therapy from a bachelor's degree to a master's degree. So now I have to think about, well, what am I going to do for my bachelor's degree? So then I know, like, you know what? I start thinking about it. I'm researching. I'm like, health and PE is kind of similar to physical therapy. So I'm going to learn some background information to make me a better physical therapist. It's a win-win. So I'm like, okay, let me go and do this PE and health thing. And at first I went to school in Florida for a year and I didn't really like Florida. So I came back and I came up to school here and started into my program of PE and health. And, just to fast forward a little bit.
Where?
LIU Post. I don't see. You got me naming schools. I don't like naming schools all the time, but I went to LIU Post. It was really an interesting experience for me. Like, I think it really helped me grow and develop as a person, good and bad. Like, I learned a lot of leadership things. I was an RA there, but at the same time, I dealt with racism like head on for the first time. So it was something that, the experiences I had there really led me to asking a lot of questions. So at the same time, I'm dealing with all this stuff and leadership and racism and dealing with, heavily white area and stuff like that. I'm getting into the depths of education and I'm going to observe in different schools. So I had a really unique experience observing at schools and, student teaching and things like that. So I was in really rich, well-off areas, schools that I got to observe in, and I went to really poor areas and schools that I got to, obviously the richer areas were predominantly white and the poorer areas were predominantly black. And I got a chance to really see the differences in education between those schools. And it was night and day. And, the rich areas we're talking about there, they're hiring teachers from all over the world. There's a teacher from London that's teaching there. There's a teacher from Germany that's teaching there. The PE teacher was a former professional baseball player. He's teaching at the school. They have all these facilities. It's like better than a college university. Like, wow, this is amazing. So now I go into the predominantly black schools, and they can't even afford to fix their facilities. Everything is broken, and the classes are overpopulated. The education is completely different. So at that time, I'm just like, wow, this is a really crazy experience. And then at the same time, I'm in these schools, regardless of whether I was a predominantly white or black school, the kids really gravitated towards me. So, I'm young. I'm like, I must be a really cool guy. Like, the kids really like hanging out with me and talking to me. But as I was learning more about the educational system, I found out that black males make up less than 2% of the teaching field in the country. And what they were responding to was seeing a black male educator for the first time. So they didn't realize that we even existed. So I was their introduction to that. And at the same time, some of my professors are, they're saying like, these kids really need you. I didn't really understand what that meant until I got to the schools and I saw like how the kids gravitated towards me. And then I started really questioning, physical therapy. I'm like, do I really want to chase this physical therapy thing, or do I want to chase, being a student's first black male teacher, giving them the experience of somebody that looks like them, educating them, caring for them, nurturing them. And what would that be like to do that? So I said, you know what, let me give it 10 years. I'm going to do this teaching thing. I'm going to give it 10 years and see how it turns out. If I don't like it, I'll just change professions or whatever it is. And if I do, I'll stick with it. But let me give it 10 years. Let me see how things work out for the kids. Before we finished college, I was able to graduate LIU Post as a student teacher of the year. I did a really, good job student teaching, and everyone enjoyed it. And I was able to win student teacher of the year. So I was the first PE and health person in the department to win that. They were able to, really put me out there. And then I was able to get a job in the Bronx right away. The school that I was.
Did you get that award, brother, from LIU, or did you get the award from the school that you were student teaching?
From LIU. I got it from LIU.
Okay.
Yep. I was doing that. The school I was student teaching in, I would talk to the secretaries, and one of the secretaries was like, my nephew works in this school in the Bronx, this charter school they just started, and they're looking for some a PE and health guy. Would you be interested? And I'm like, yeah. So she gave me the phone number and everything, called, went in for an interview, and it was the most interesting experience. I went in for an interview thinking I was just going in for an interview, and I was there for the whole day teaching. Like, it was insane. The principal, his interview, he gave me like a microphone. It was a big microphone, and he said, do your thing. So I'm thinking he's going to go and get the class. He goes and gets the entire grade. So he brought the entire 6th grade down, and he goes to sit down. So for me, it's like to observe me. Yeah. See what I did. And to me, it was like do or die at that moment. So I'm like, I got to get this position. Like, all I've been hearing since I was student teaching is that there's no teaching job. So I got to make this happen. So, I don't remember exactly what the lesson I did was, but the students really enjoyed it. He's like, hey, do you mind sticking around and teaching the rest of the classes for the day? I'm like, sure, why not? So I ended up teaching, all the health and PE classes for the day at the school. And I just kept going back, and they hired me full time right after college. And, I was there and I'm learning. I really didn't know, especially in the city. I'm in the South Bronx. I didn't really know what was happening with the children and education. And, so this was firsthand experience, the first few years of what was going on. And some of the things that I noticed and paid attention to was that there was a revolving door of teachers. So, you had a lot of teachers that would go to other schools, maybe 60% or more. The administrators changed within I was only there for 3 years, and a lot changed so much. The kids obviously were consistent because they were in the community, and they weren't getting a consistent education a lot of times because of the change and then all the issues that they were dealing with within the school system as well. So there was a lot of things that weren't in the textbooks and notebooks that I was learning from that I was having to do on the spot. with the students. And, I'm creating curriculum and doing all these things firsthand because there was no curriculum prior. So it's almost like I'm running my own program, which, looking at it now, I kind of like appreciate that experience because I really had to be creative in teaching a whole grade. I had to teach the whole 6th grade, the whole 7th grade, the whole 8th grade for PE and for health. That is pretty challenging. We're talking about 80 to about 60 to 90 kids, give or take, for the grade at the same time. Yeah, it was really, really challenging. You had to put, I had to put in grades for all those kids and all these things. And, an opportunity opened up in a school in Long Island. And, if it wasn't for the travel, I was traveling from Long Island into the city, I probably would have really stayed in that school because I love the school. I love the kids. I didn't love like the educational experience that the kids were getting, but I just love being there and what I was able to provide the students. But at the same time, I had my new family and, I had my daughter was really young and I knew that, I had to be in a closer setting and environment. I was coming home like 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night from school because of traffic. And school would let out at 5 o'clock. So it'd take me 2 hours, 2.5 to get home. So it was really a tough experience, especially for my wife, and all that stuff. So I thought it would be better to transition into another school that had a better, time difference and everything and closer. So then I started teaching in Long Island and this is where I've been, since then. And, my children are getting a little older, so I'm seeing their educational experience. And then the pandemic happens. And before then, I started looking into like education and doing some research and things like that and trying to figure out the experience of these students, because when we're looking at this education, learning education in the schools, you don't really learn about how to educate Black children, right? And you don't really learn about some of the things specifically culturally that the students are going through and how to identify with them. So I'm learning these things on my own just from having conversation with the kids and trying some different things. But I also wanted to check out some research, and part of my research, introduced me to some of the work that you were doing. So I'm watching some of your interviews and your videos and trying to implement some of your things and stuff like that into my classroom, which was really interesting. And I'm also reading up on people like Dr. Amos Wilson, like looking at, the psychological development of Black children. I'm also reading up on Dr. Kenneth Clark, looking up at how students identify racially to Blackness and whiteness and how they internalize these things. And a lot of the things started connecting with me into my experience as a teacher. And I'm just pondering on these things and how can I create a better environment for the kids, right? So how can I allow them to see themselves in the classroom? How can I allow them to have their own kind of personal experience into the curriculum and infuse these things? So reading up and looking at your stuff, Dr. Wilson's stuff, and Dr. Clark's things allowed me to start, infusing my curriculum a little bit more with the students and identifying with that. So as I'm doing that, getting comfortable, the pandemic hits. And the pandemic, we all know how difficult of a time it was. And as I'm home watching, my daughter get educated and things like that, I'm looking at like how she's being educated. And I'm starting to think about, well, what am I doing for my daughter? So I'm looking for programs and things like that because I want her to get a Black-centered education. And I was finding pieces, like little pieces, like Black history here, this program here, but it didn't have everything that I wanted. And I knew that the school was going to be missing things. And obviously reading Dr. Clark's work, I don't know if listeners are familiar with Dr. Clark, but he did the doll test where he identified that Black children suffer from an inferiority complex. And, especially when they go into the school system, it's into everything. But in the school system, they have predominantly white teachers. And then from there, you go to math class and you're learning that math and all the people that made advances in math were all white. You learn in science class, all the scientists and made advancements to humanity were all white. You go to pretty much every class, history, you learn that same thing, like how much greatness and things that white folks accomplished and that Black people were fighting for civil rights and they were slaves and all these things. So thinking about the dynamics of that. And if my daughter goes through this educational system, she's going to come out with low self-esteem and my son as well. So how do I interrupt that? And at first I came out with MasterMine, the podcast, as a pretty much something to teach her that Black people are excelling in all these different things. Black people have mastery over certain things. and just a positive representation of Black people. So I only interviewed people that had positive representation and that were mastering their different fields. And my daughter was able to do a mini interview. So our first interaction was my daughter interviewing you for the first time when she was pretty like 7 years old. That's what I was doing kind of to interrupt that with her. And it just from like the conversations with friends that I was having lunch with, shout out to my boy Kasim, just really, we would talk about education and if we could, how could we make it better for our kids? Like what is the proper education? What does it look like? And what we came out with was that education is supposed to be something that connects to life directly. It's supposed to be helping you in how you live your everyday life. And what we found was that the kind of education that our kids were getting, it was disconnected from their everyday life. So we were thinking, well, how can we reconnect them to everyday life? What are some things that they need? So I started just pondering on that. Financial literacy is something that we always say that the kids don't get in school. Black history, we already know what's going on around the country with Black history and how people feel about teaching our children Black history. The kids don't learn about themselves. They're in classrooms for the whole year, learning math, English, social studies, science, and they have minimal learning about who they are, their culture, their identity, their psychology, their personality, everything. So learning about self-development and who they are. And as I'm thinking about these things, I was actually just really planning on I'm going to try to start like a homeschool thing for my daughter so she can get all these things. So I'm asking some of the people I'm interviewing on my podcast, like, hey, if I just paid you for the hour, would you be able to teach my daughter? A lot of people saying, yeah, do that. Why not? Like, it's something they found interesting. So then I'm like, would you, what about my students? Like, would you teach a group of students? Like, would you know? And a lot of them like, yeah, why not? So I asked my friends and they were down with it. And I just kept coming out with more ideas of what I could do. And one of the things that was important to me, especially for my daughter, like for her to be learning from somebody who has expertise, somebody who has passion, not just somebody who learned something from a book. And, there are teachers obviously with passion and that are learning from books, actually doing things. But I wanted her to learn from real people. Like if she's learning science, I would love her to learn from a scientist. If she's learning history, I would love her to learn with one of the best historians in the world, Kaba Kamene. Right. So same thing with my friend who's a financial advisor, advises for a lot of different people. Why can't she learn financial literacy from him? So I think, in my view, just putting everything together, I was just like, well, my daughter, my students, like, I think we deserve the best when it comes to education. And we already have the best that exists in our communities. There are Black doctors and Black lawyers and Black entrepreneurs, Black musicians that exist in our community that have mastery and expertise that can give back and teach. So I think that it's important that at this point in time, we begin to do that, especially when we look at education and that our kids are not really performing, even I know, the history of stuff with desegregation. And since that time, it's been a downward spiral when it comes to the educational value that our kids are getting from school. And every decade, I feel like it just gets worse and worse. So I feel like it's on us to interrupt that as parents, as the Black community, as Black professionals, to have that knowledge and to be able to pass it on to children. I think there's nothing like it when you see, the impact that you can have on a child that, for example, like my friend came in who's a financial advisor. I started a career exploration group at the school. And some of my students, they never heard of a financial advisor before, but afterwards they're like, I want to be a financial advisor. That's what they're saying now. So just being introduced to something like that and seeing that a Black person can do it can change the whole trajectory of their life. So there's a very powerful thing about being educated by Black professionals and people that look like you, that care about you and that want to give you the best of them. So we started MasterMine University as a summer academy at first, and we were, teaching financial literacy, entrepreneurship, self-development, and, hiring different people that fit these things, like our financial advisor, hiring other people and myself to teach the classes. And that was the first summer. It went really well. And parents were like, well, what are you doing during the school year? So then during the school year, I'm like, you know what, let's do something where we can do a monthly program. And, our summer program was virtual and we met in person as well. I'm like, you know what? Let's do some movement stuff with the kids and really dig into that. So I connected with a yoga instructor that taught them yoga and mindfulness. I connected with a self-defense instructor that taught them self-defense. And we recently connected with a chess instructor that's teaching them chess and strategies and things like that. And at the same time, we teach them communication skills. This year, we're planning on doing a mock job interview and things like that with the students. We started a cooking program with chefs out in Long Island, restaurant owners up at Bayview Kitchen. Shout out to Bayview Kitchen, where they're teaching the students how to cook, culinary skills, how to serve, all of these things that are really essential life skills. So MasterMine University pretty much is dedicated to teaching the kids life skills and skills that they're going to be able to utilize as adults and even into their life right now that they can benefit from and just be the best version of themselves. And that's what we kind of try to promote is like self-mastery. And one of the ideas that I wanted to think about is like, what would happen if we try to get our students to spend 10,000 hours? They say 10,000 is that magical mastery hour time. So what would happen if students spent 10,000 hours on themselves? And we developed all these classes that would equate to that. What kind of person would they become? What benefit would they be to the community? And how could we really learn and develop from that? So that's really what the experiment of MasterMine University is right now. I know that was a long-winded answer, but I hope I answered the question, Kaba.
Yeah. My brother, let me take you back so we can put some time limits on this. You graduate from college and you start teaching in South Bronx. What year was that?
That was 2013 that I started teaching. 2013.
Okay. And you're now, you teach for 3 years there, and then you get offered a job in Long Island.
Yes.
Would that be correct to say that was 2016?
Yes, sir.
Were you married with children at this time?
Yeah, my daughter was, when I started teaching, my wife was pregnant. So my daughter's about 2 years old, going on 3 at this time.
So when you started teaching, you were already married?
Yes.
Okay. So now you got 2016, you're in Long Island. Between the time of 2016, when you start teaching in Long Island, to when you decide to do a podcast, when did you do the podcast?
So I started the podcast exactly during the pandemic. And, you know, I had a good friend that I started talking to during the pandemic. He's also a Black history professor out on Long Island, and he's very courageous. And for me, I always had a fear of just really expressing myself and who I am and my viewpoints and all these things, because I'm like, man, what if I express this thing and I get fired, I get in trouble, whatever it is. And he just really just kind of like conversing with him a lot, just really gave me confidence in being able to express myself. And I think the pandemic, like looking at life and death and what we leave behind, I started thinking about, well, if I died like around this point in time, like I would leave a lot behind because there's a lot in my mind and ideas and things that I want to do that I haven't done. And I started asking myself, what would it look like if I just moved with no fear and put all these things out that are on my mind and all these ideas? And I just made a promise to myself, like whatever comes to my mind, I'm going to at least physically try to do and see what's going to happen from it, you know. And the bare minimum, my kids are going to be impacted in a great way, and the maximum number will have an impact on the community. So it was really just an experiment from there during the pandemic, where that fear of what if this happens released from my mind and my heart, and I was able to move as my full self. I don't know if that makes sense.
What year would you say during the pandemic this happened? 2019, 2020, 2021?
2020, because we were out from school. And this was during the period of time where, you know, schools kind of took a break because nobody knew what was happening. So I'm at home for like 3 months, not really, logging in and doing everything because we took a break. Our school took a break, and I had a lot of time on my hands to really think and process my life and my future and everything. So I'm just writing, taking notes and planning from there, you know.
What inspired you to do the podcast again?
The podcast was really my kids, my children, because of looking at the study that Dr. Clark was doing with the doll test and the impact that the educational system has on how children relate to other Black people and how we identify and things like that. And seeing some of the things, some of the anti-Blackness within our culture and community, within my students, and just trying to think about like, how can I promote blackness and culture in a positive way to my kids so that they're getting this direct experience? Nobody can tell them that there's no black person that's a mathematician or a scientist or an astronaut or an entrepreneur or a millionaire or whatever, because they've spoken to all these people. They know all these people. And I think it creates something different in their mind, and there's no barriers. So that's what I wanted to really create, really, for my children.
When you said Dr. Clark, Kenneth Clark,
yes,
and the doll test, you're talking about when they showed different dolls to black children and all of them chose the white doll?
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so,
so
yeah,
that sort of kind of gave the impression that they didn't value themselves, that they
Right.
tried to be someone else. And you know what was interesting is that when my daughters were young, I took them to Toys R Us, and we were in the doll section. And I remember there was a woman of European descent with her daughter there. And the girl came and said to mother, "This is the doll that I'd like to get." And it was a black doll. And the mother said to her, "Why do you want that doll? That doll don't look like you. Put it back. Get a doll that looks like you." And I always thought about that with the doll test. Because, you know, Anderson Cooper, I believe Anderson from CNN, he also did an update
Yes.
on the doll test, and he turned out the same way. So that what is happening and what you're doing is directly related to that very fact.
Professor Kaba, I want to say that I was living the doll test with my students. So the comments that they would make about themselves, the art that they would do, you know, we do a lot of artwork and things like that for the kids, creativity and stuff like that. What I would see from them would say a lot about how they viewed themselves. So we had a lot of conversations. So I was seeing it live too, and reading about it and just thinking like, how can we interrupt this?
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And you see, my thing was, you know, you used the word interrupt, and I always use the word disrupt, you know, to make that change in my career. And I think that I just came from a perspective that it's not going down on my watch like this. It's just not going to go down. And I had many of my colleagues of European descent were very anxious towards me. Like when I had my students in lineup in the morning, like we had all of our grades from first grade to fourth grade, and we'd line up. We had like 2 classes each grade. So there was like 8 classes there. And at the time, Gil Scott-Heron's song, "What's the Word, Johannesburg," was out. And when we would be online in the morning, we would chant. I would say, "What's the word?" They say, "Johannesburg." You know, I say, "What's the word?" Johannesburg. Disrupt it. And because of the nature of my attitude, and because of those students' attitude, you know, because the other thing is, before we even started that, I played the song during lineup. So they could hear what those words were about South Africa, because this is before South Africa. This is in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
This is before Nelson Mandela in South Africa was able to overturn.
Right.
And so the disruption that occurs with our children, but you can see it. Had a little girl come to me and say, "Brother Booker T, my nose is too big." And I said, "Well, honey, can you breathe?" And she said, "Yeah, I can breathe." I said, "You breathe all right?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, your nose is just the right size," you know? But this is what's put on. And I know, you know, with Dr. Amos Wilson, with his work, the developmental psychology and awakening the genius in black children, and Dr. Frances Cress Welsing and the things that she did, we come to realize certain things and what it is that we have to do. And we each do it in our own way. Because I work with Dr. Amos Wilson with his book, Blueprint for Black Power. His section on education, part of that are meetings that we had. We used to meet on the corner of 149th Street, Grand Concourse in the deli, because he worked at Hostas College, which was right like 150th, 151st. And we used to sit, and I used to use his psychological dimensions, and I would create curriculum. And Blueprint for Black Power, the education section, part of it is our conversations as to how I applied what he said should be done in the classroom. I applied it. And then I would go back and tell him what my results were from what he had done. I did the same thing with Dr. Frances Cress Welsing because she was a child psychiatrist. So that what you're doing and what you're explaining is very real. And most parents, although they may come up in that discriminatory concept and live it, they may not see it through their children. Some of us go through this and we don't connect what we've actually been through as children. Mm-hmm. And then we don't always see it when our children come home and reenact what it is that they're experiencing. And the key is that when the program that you developed, the one that I experienced this summer, let me ask you this. In terms of the MasterMine University this summer,
yes, sir,
2025,
mm-hmm.
from July to August,
mm-hmm.
how did you prepare for it? When do you think you began to put pen to paper to actually develop it as it turned out? I know everything you experienced prior to that led you to that point, but from the moment you said, we're doing this now, and we're going to do it this way.
Yes, sir.
Explain the process that you went through to invite all of those individuals that came, because you had a brother that was a sports person,
mm-hmm.
that I believe was someone that you knew.
Yes, sir.
And so like when you reached out to these different people, from the moment you started to formulate it, explain the process that you went through for.
We deal with very, very, you're a very busy person, Professor Kaba. And for me, I just know it's better to reach busy people when their schedules and calendars are clear, so I think that magic number is like 4 or 5 months. Usually people 4 or 5 months advance are pretty clear in scheduling. So October, November, I'm asking all our instructors, do you think you can teach a class during the summer?
You're talking about 2024.
Yes, sir.
October and November 2024. Okay.
Yes, sir. And for me, one of the ways that I wanted to make it make sense for people is to not ask them for too much, right? I don't want you to teach for 3 or 4 hours a day or anything like that. Even if I'm paying you, I don't want you to teach that much. I know you're busy, you're doing other stuff. So one of the ways I wanted to make it reasonable, like, for example, we have somebody in the program, Dr. G, who is a doctor. She has her own private practice. It wouldn't be the best thing for me to ask her to teach, for the whole day or, anything more than what I asked. So what I told everybody is, listen, I just need you to teach 45 minutes a week for 6 weeks. You think you can do that? And, we just worked and maneuvered everybody's schedule. I usually send it to them and, does this work? And they're like, well, no, I could only do this day and that day. And then I, just really communicate and connect with everybody and just see what works for everybody, understanding that everybody's extremely busy. So it's not like a personal matter if, they can't do a day or whatever it is. And, it ended up really working out pretty well. Like my friend who's a financial advisor, sometimes he's teaching a class virtually and he's on a plane to another country or state, but that's how serious he takes it. We had Dr. G, who has her own private practice, on her lunch break teaching a class. That's how serious she took it. I mean,
what area of medicine is she in?
She's a family physician.
Family physician. Okay.
Yep. So she sees the whole family, and she does a lot of advocating too, for Black women and pregnant women and breast cancer and a lot of other things. She's developed her practice. Well, she got her education in Cuba. Cuba is very hands-on in how they teach doctors and things like that. So I think that was a huge benefit. And she's very community oriented and really just a really gem. And I feel like that about all our instructors. One of the things I wanted to find were people that were passionate about our community, our children, that had children as well themselves, and that just understood what was happening and understood the responsibility of what I was asking them to do, and took the kids very seriously. I deal with people all day, every day, and I'm sure you can share in that really don't take our children seriously, just from what they say and how they respond to them. And I knew that I wanted the kids to kind of get a really different experience of, these are adults that look like you, that take you dead serious. They're here every day. They're here on time. They're here early. They're spending time with you. they're giving you money, like they're doing all of these things because they care.
When you say they're giving you money, explain that concept.
Yes, sir. So again, our program is really touching on life skills. And there's this concept: when you work for something, you get paid generally. We don't really practice that in the educational system, really. I know there's a lot of things that prohibit it, but as our own program, our own business, we can really practice that. So for example, the kids do this game called the stock market game that simulates the actual stock market, and they get to invest in stocks after our financial literacy instructors teach them about stocks and how to invest. And they can do it real time in the game. And we reward the students, top 3 students in regards to, we give them a percentage of their earnings and what they make in the stocks. In our financial literacy class, we also give students a chance to win money every class. I think we gave out over $1,000 when it comes to just all our students. And they're pretty happy about that. They get their, their envelopes with money in it. And for them, sometimes it's the first time that they've been able to earn money. We're talking about middle school and high school students. And what we want them to think about is, if you work really hard at something and you put your all to it, there's an opportunity for you to get financial outcome out of it. And maybe you can get something that you want, and maybe you can reinvest it. So our financial literacy instructor, Mr. Q, said, listen, I know you guys have won, let's say you won $100. You can think about a percentage that you want to reinvest, and we're going to give you double back next summer. So we had students that are like, you know what, I'm going to put $50 down and I'll expect $100 next summer. We had a couple of students that gave all their money back in expectation of getting back their investment. So these are real life skills that we're teaching the students. And, money is a part of that. Money is a really big motivator for adults, and it's no different for children.
And one of the very important things that they learned, because I was there when they announced that if you give it back, you'll get for next summer, because I was there when you had the reception at the end of the activity. And in schools, I used to do that to find out about our students. I found out a lot about our students with immediate gratification.
Yes.
Okay. And I would say, on Tuesday, I'll give you 3 cookies today, but if you can wait till Friday, I'll give you 5. You find out a lot about a human being, particularly an adult is like that too.
Motivation.
But when you're with children, you find out a lot about immediate gratification. Are you willing to, because that's what investment is.
Mm-hmm.
Investment is that you are willing to wait for your results by investing in something today.
Mm-hmm.
And just that experience alone, I think, for so many of the students was worthwhile. Because how many times do they really have that? For the most part, many people and students have immediate gratification. No, I want 3 cookies right now.
Mm-hmm.
I may not be in school on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Now, other people say, well, I'm going to wait because I know I'm going to be in school on Friday and I want those 5 cookies. So you find out a lot. And so these are the types of skills. Tell me, brother, the class met 5 days a week?
So the way we constructed the program for the students, they had 3 days a week of virtual instruction. So within the virtual instruction, they had 3 classes a day, about 40 minutes per class. So it ended up being between breaks about 3 hours for each day, for 3 days. And then that was a virtual. Then we had 1 day in person where we did the yoga, the self-defense, the chess. And that was once a week for 3 hours. And then we did our cooking program as well. So a student that does the full program is getting about 5 or 6 days a week through the program for the summer, which I think is, it's pretty intensive for them. But it's also not a lot of time in terms of you have other programs that have the kids for 7 or 8 hours. We have them for no more than 4 hours usually. So I think they really enjoyed it. They enjoyed, having a program where they can learn on that level, but also have the freedom of doing, what they wanted to do the rest of the day. I think there's a lot of time wasted in education personally. I think that we can really literally cut the time of education in half and really give the students the time back to themselves. We have, kids that are coming home late from school that are barely spending time with family and barely, able to do anything nowadays because school, sports, and all these things there the whole day. So I think that they should get most of that time back. And I don't think it has to be a full day event, 6, 7, 8 hours. So we
the cooking class, brother,
mm-hmm.
Where did that take place?
So that was in Bayview Kitchen in Amityville. So I'm really good friends with the chefs and restaurant owners, Chef Antoine and Chef Asim. And I eat at their restaurant. I have my meetings in their restaurant all the time. And one day we're just sitting down and eating. And my friend who's a financial advisor, Mr. Q, he's like, why don't you teach cooking classes to the chef? You know, because he's a part of our program. And he's like, I never thought about that before. And we're like, you know, so just from there, we just started talking about it. We realized that, you know, although you may have a family where mom may cook, dad may cook, they have difficulty passing on the skills to the students because they don't want to hang around and see their parents cooking. And then the parents don't have time between work and everything to just sit there and teach the students. So even though they may know how to cook, passing on that cooking knowledge and information is very difficult because of the time that the parents and the families have. So the program was really able to be a Kickstarter for the students and really introduce them to, you know, making basic things to where they would want to practice at home with their family. So when the students started, they're sending pictures back to us of making, you know, the next day making what we made from the class from before. And, you know, they're learning all these culinary skills, how to chop, how to cut fruit and vegetables properly, how to juice, just some different things that they've never tried before. Some of these kids weren't even used to eating vegetables, certain vegetables, and they found out, wow, it kind of tastes pretty good when it's fresh, you know? So it really introduced them to a lot. And I think that, you know, culinary skills obviously is a skill, a life skill that really our community needs. And one of the things we want to do to move it up and step it up is include some agriculture and some farming next summer. So we want to look at having them grow some of their own vegetables that we can use in the kitchen. So that's something we want to do moving forward.
Can you go through the classes that they actually learned throughout that summer program?
Yes, sir.
Just to give us a understanding of how diverse and how different it was than what they're used to in school. Because, you know, my brother, Mr. G, that's one of the cornerstones, as far as I'm concerned, about education. I believe that everything, you know, when you're dealing, wherever you have water, you have a science class. And so when they went to the restaurant, that was science. Not the kind of science you have in the classroom, but the mixing and the matching, the spices, all of that, botany, you know, making juices, botany. And what I noticed about the financial literacy, that's math class.
Yes, sir. We did a lot of math.
Oh,
we
yeah.
did a lot of math.
And that's the type of, and then you have calculations, because when they're trying to figure out the money that they're making on the stock game, you see, you know, that in itself is percentages, fractions, all of that. And so what the summer program of MasterMine University did was it allowed them to apply what they learned in the classroom.
Yes.
In a way that applied directly to them. And that is how we taught in Africa. We learned the subjects, but we learned the subjects in relationship to how they would apply to us. Richard Pryor used to always have a statement. He'd say, what it mean to me? So when our children are in school, they're asking, well, what does it mean to me? Why am I learning this? And so from AI to the financial literacy, to the brother that was a reptile connoisseur, enjoying the reptiles, learning about a reptile's zoology, even to the point where you're looking at a topography of land, geography. You're looking at concepts as it relates to where you would find certain reptiles and where you would not find other reptiles. So in terms of the subjects that were taught during that 5 to 6 week period.
Yes, sir.
What were some of the classes?
Yes, sir. And I like what you said about one of the biggest questions that students ask in our schools is, why are we learning this? When am I ever going to use this? Why do I need to know this? And I feel like as educators, if we can't answer those questions, then it really puts the education that the students are getting in question. What is it really for?
That's right.
You know, if they can't use it. So I love that.
The Moorish proverb, brother, that says, if what you learned you can't do anything with, you wasted your time learning it. Everything that we learn should be attached to something in the student's life.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about taking a test and passing, which is many times how people perceive why you're in school, to pass the test.
Right.
And then the fallacious concept of you'll get a good job. No, that's not how it works.
Exactly.
But to be able to cook and to be able to do financial literacy
Mm-hmm.
and to be able to understand reptiles, it lends something to the summer program. And I've always believed that the summer program should be radically different from what they learn in the classroom.
Yes, sir. Yes,
and that's
sir.
what the MasterMine University did.
Yes, sir. So to answer your question, so we had a virtual component. Our virtual component was more instructional. So we had Black History with Professor Kaba, of course, one of the best. And obviously they're learning about things that they probably have never learned about before. Like, a lot of our classes, half of it is asking you just all these questions about Black history that they probably always wanted to ask, but they never had anybody to ask it to. And one of the students was like, well, why don't I learn this in school? And you had a great answer for that. But to continue, they learn obviously financial literacy along with the stock market. They learn business and entrepreneurship, and all these things that they're learning are from people in the field. So they learn financial literacy from a financial advisor. They learn business and entrepreneurship from an entrepreneur. They learn health literacy from a doctor that I mentioned before. So she's teaching the students, when you go to the doctor, what do the doctors look for? What are they measuring? How do you have a conversation with your doctor about your health and what's going on? What are the proper things to eat so you won't end up in the hospital like some of these students or people that I deal with that are coming in for diabetes and high blood pressure and all these things. So she really did a really great job breaking down some of the things that are happening in our community as it relates to health and food and wellness and all these things, and taught the students how to look at it from a doctor perspective, which I thought was really powerful. We had a lawyer teach everyday law. And one of the things I think a lot of our students don't learn about is how do you engage and have a conversation with law enforcement? What are they looking for? And one of the things that the lawyer that was teaching the class was bringing to the kids' attention was the Central Park Five and what they went through and how their ignorance of the law. I know they were only kids, and we mentioned they were only kids, but because their parents and them were ignorant of the law, it was used against them. And these are some of the things that you need to know about the law. And if you're ever, interrogated or if you're ever arrested, this is how you deal with this situation. So they had the everyday law class. They had a psychology class with psychologist Dr. Brandon Gamble, who's out in California. He's a leader of Black student success out in San Bernardino, I believe. And he did a really introduction to Black psychology with the students and learning about their own psychology. And he had them do a really interesting experiments, having them ask their parents questions about who they are, who they think they are, their best attributes, what the parents love about them. And really, these are interesting questions that I don't think they've ever had those type of conversations before. And it was really interesting in our dynamics and discussions, what they were learning about themselves and how their families view them and what they were able to get from that. I think that was a very powerful class as well. We had a Stories for Life class with our middle school students where we had a storyteller, Nasheed Ali. He was sharing the principles of Kwanzaa, the 7 principles with through storytelling to the students and really giving them life principles through storytelling in African mythology, which they found to be pretty interesting. We had a class about relationships with Jewel Guy, who's an author. And the class was really about how to establish a relationship with themselves and learn about themselves, and then how to use that relationship with themselves to enhance and maintain healthy relationships with other people, which I thought was really interesting. And the kids were really engaged in that. I'm trying to see if I'm missing anything. We had a college readiness class as well, where they were introduced to what college is for. We had college students that came in to talk to the students about their experiences, just looking at different types of colleges from HBCUs to PWIs to Ivy Leagues. And, a lot of students were really interested because this was the first time they were looking at college on that level and really understanding what college was all about and some of the experiences and things that they need to know for school. So that was our virtual program, pretty much. So the kids were doing that for 3 days a week. And then we would have our cooking program again, which was teaching the kids culinary skills. So they had demonstrations by the chefs. The chefs, actually, the full staff volunteered, which I thought was really cool, to participate in the program. And, we had 4 chefs on site and some of the assistants at the restaurant that really heard about what was happening and wanted to just, volunteer their time to help the kids. And I thought that was really powerful. So shout out to the Bayview Kitchen staff that really, lent their time to the students and really enjoyed the process. And I thought the students got to see like community within that program and to see adults really giving up their time to educate them, which was powerful. And we, the kids made some fun things. They made rasta pasta. They learned how to make eggs. They learned how to make burgers from scratch that they enjoyed. They learned how to make tacos and all the fresh ingredients that come with it. And they had a lot of fun. We had a great time. After that, we did our Sunday program where the kids did yoga, mindfulness, and journaling with our yoga instructor, Miss Stacy. And then they did self-defense with our instructor, Mr. Chen. And these, again, everybody that teaches is a professional, so they are licensed. So our self-defense instructor is a licensed instructor. Our yoga instructor is a licensed yoga instructor. And our chess instructor is a licensed chess instructor teaching the kids chess. We were able to do a chess tournament at the end of the program where we awarded the top 3 kids. One of the kids won a trophy from the tournament. And we want to continue to develop those programs. Throughout the summer, we also did a weekly workshop, and the workshop was supposed to teach the kids some different skills. So we did a mechanic workshop. One of my former students is a mechanic, and one of his goals is to teach mechanics. So he started doing it with the workshop, and he bought in his own car, opened the hood, and taught the students what was in the hood of a car, things that they should know when they first get a car. And then he taught them one of the most valuable skills that we don't learn until it's too late, which is how to change the tire. So, he propped up the car, taught them how to do that, and taught them how to, unscrew the bolts and everything, and had the students change the tires in real time. Thought that was really cool. So we want to keep developing that as well. We did a self-care workshop where we had a loctician teaching the kids how to braid hair. We had a barber that was practicing on my hair and allowed the students to cut my hair and do my lineup. And it was pretty cool. And then we had a skincare expert who was an esthetician that taught the kids about taking care of their skin, how to hydrate it, moisturize it, what their skin responds to and things like that. And parents were that was an interesting workshop because the parents were the students as well. And the parents had a lot of questions for our instructors. And it was really a community event. The parents were learning, the students were learning, they were all learning together. And yeah, I thought it was a really special event. We also were invited to do a golf session where they do the Ryder Cup, I believe, which is a American and European golf tournament. So we were watching what was happening with the building process of that. And the kids did an intro to golf with Black golfers. I thought that was pretty cool. That introduced them to golf, and they got these really cool, pucks, and I think they got a golf tee and some different things and free shirts and everything. So shout out to Finer Golf. Finer Golf was the ones that sponsored that event. We did a financial literacy event where the students were able to get different jobs and they got paid and they had to cash their check, and they learned how to cash a check and what's in a check and everything and different financial literacy terms. We were pretty action packed this summer. And then we had our celebration at the end event that you were a part of, Professor Kamene, where we celebrated the students. And I think there's also like a lack of celebration for our students. And it's one of the things I really wanted to infuse into our program, really celebrating our kids and letting them know how important they are, how loved they are, how intelligent they are, how much we value them. So that day was really dedicated to them. We had a parent was able to offer her house as the meeting place. She had a very nice pool, very nice yard.
Oh, that was
and
a beautiful place.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
We had a great time.
Place. My wife and I went out, as you say,
Mm-hmm.
And it was just a phenomenal place. And the fact that the parents, tell me the role that the parents play in this.
The parents, this is not planned. I think it's really organic. And that's really the beautiful piece of it. The parents are part of the community. We have parents that offer to pick up and drop off students that don't have a ride, all the time. We have parents that come in our programs that serve as chaperones. And for our program at the end of the year, parents offered to cook, offered to help out. So it's really a community effort. It's not just like drop your kids off and then whatever. Like the parents are infused in the program and we invite them in, and it's a really community experience that the students are getting. Like their community is teaching them, not just us. Their community is putting in the time, the effort, the energy, the care for them, and not just, MasterMind University and our instructors, but it's an entire community effort.
Yeah. I think your wife did the banana pudding, didn't she?
Oh, she did. She did. She's a huge part of everything that we do. So shout out to my wife. Yes, sir.
Absolutely. And it's a family. And that's one of the things that goes back to the African tradition, to the family. They say it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a child to raise a village.
Mm.
And I think that our children are telling us things all the time, and they're raising us in their own way. And so that's what becomes so important, because just like you said, you wanted Maya and Malcolm, your children, your son, your daughter, to be able to have the type of education. So in a sense, she raised you.
Yes.
In the sense that she inspired you to put this type of program together. In terms of the program virtual, you had people not just from Long Island and not just from New York.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for adding that piece. And I really forget to mention that. So another piece that we want to promote to the students is Black excellence from a global perspective, and to show them that there are amazing Black people doing all these different things. So we have a career exploration program where the students are able to explore the life and careers of doctors, lawyers, entrepreneurs, musicians. We had a comic book creator that came in. We have professional athletes that have come in. We have professional musicians that have come in, and they talk to our students. Our students get to interview them. We had somebody out in England that came in. We have somebody from South Africa that's coming in. So the kids are also getting a global perspective of Black excellence, and that we are doing all these different things. And when you're thinking about what you want to do in your life, there's not a limitation to what you can do, because there's a Black person who's a scientist that you've spoken to. There's a Black person who's a professional athlete that you've spoken to. There's a Black person who is a computer technician that you've spoken to. There's a Black person who's a professional musician that you've spoken to. There's a Black person who's a professional artist that you've spoken to. So we want our students to understand that there's no limitation to what it is that they can do. And really, they got to follow their passions and their dreams and what they want to do, and just not to be limited. And they have the opportunity to ask questions. And we hope in the future that they reach back out to the people that they're interested in and ask for advice, ask for information, because a lot of the people that come in, they share their phone numbers, they share their emails, and offer the students mentorship and all these things. So we hope that they take advantage in the future.
So students, someone who is watching this, who is interested, how would they be able to reach out to the MasterMind University to have their children as part of this? We
have a sign up on our website. So MasterMind, and that's with an E at the end. It's not a D. So MasterMine, MasterMindUniversity.org. And on our website, we have instructor bios, pictures of our programs, explanation of every program, and then they can do a sign up right from there. And then my email, they can communicate with me directly as well. So my email is mrg.mastermind, again with an E, @gmail.com. So they can reach out to me directly, or they can look into the website and register from the website.
And you'll have that information, in terms of this particular conversation we're having, you'll have that written out so that they'll know exactly how to contact you.
Yes, sir. So as soon as they get on the website, they can register, or it says contact, and they can contact and email me right away. And they can, reach out through email, speak to me right away. And they email me. Usually we end up having a phone conversation anyway. So I do share my phone number, and then we have a conversation about what it is that they're looking for. And I always tell the parents, I know you're interested in this program, but just make sure your child is interested as well. Because we do want students that are serious about their education, about what they want to do. And we don't want students that are tagged, my mom forced me to be here. And we want from both the parent and the student that they are interested. So I do ask parents to have that conversation. We don't want to waste your time, and for you to be upset that your child is not showing up to, because there's some responsibility involved. And I talk to parents about that. So just make sure their student is interested, their child is as interested as they are about their own development and learning some of these things. And I think it's an important piece but we are very accessible. We have open enrollment right now for our fall and spring program. So parents can register right now for the fall and spring, which will have a virtual component. We're adding a book club this year. One of our authors is going to be teaching just a book club looking into Black authors and self-development books. One of the things that we find is that our students are not reading anymore. Even our intellectuals are not reading anymore. And a lot of times it's because they haven't really found the books that really garner their attention from a cultural and intellectual perspective. So we really kind of want to bring that back to the table through a book club. And we're going to continue financial literacy throughout the year. We're going to continue Black history with Professor Kaba throughout the year. We're going to continue career exploration. And then we're going to continue our in-person activities as well. So it should be a really fun year.
If someone who is watching this would like to participate as a scholar educator of the children, there is a space for that also?
Yes, absolutely. So part of our career exploration component is we do have, guests that come in and they can either present their careers or they can teach a mini lesson. So we've had, guests that have come on to do that as well. So if anybody has anything interesting, knowledge, information that they think the students need to know connected to certain subject areas or anything they would like to present, they can email me as well, and we can work on getting something together. So again, mrg.mastermind@gmail.com.
Well, brother, Mr. G, I think we've covered every aspect, but is there any aspect of what you believe the community should know about what you're doing? Because again, I just want to reflect back in terms of my involvement and your seriousness about what you're doing and your family's seriousness, because you had your family involved also. This is a community activity. And we so many times talk about what we should be doing for our children. It all sounds real good, but I'm done with that. I've been implementing programs all my life, and it's time that we start to do something. We start to implement these programs. We start to show, and you've covered a wide spectrum of a lot of different activities, from the global initiative of having people from South Africa and Britain and all around the world, and that will grow in time with people who are experts in this area. I see the MasterMine University as exactly what reflects the very best in us as a people, and what it is that we have to do for our people. And it's something that we have to do. Can the community financially support what it is that you're doing?
I think we have the ability.
Can they? How, if somebody likes this idea and would like to support MasterMine University financially, how would
they can support by directly sending a donation through PayPal or through Cash App, or they can email me directly. We have opportunities for students to get scholarships. We have donors that donate to the program where students can write an essay and do the program for free that can't afford the program. So we definitely need support, and we would like to make it, for students that really have the interest to be able to do the program. And it's from people funding the program and being able to donate that helps us. We also want to attempt to do a college tour next summer, and we would like to raise money for that as well. On top of raising money for free tuition for students that get scholarships. So the community can definitely reach out and email me interest, and I can send them a PayPal link or Cash App link. And again, my email is mrg.mastermind@gmail.com. And shout out to the people that have donated already. We have had a number of people that have donated, and we send them a weekly newsletter through the summer so they're familiar with what's going on, what's happening, where their money is going. We invest all that money back into the students and the activities that we do. So yeah, we definitely need that from the community in order to grow and to continue to get to where we want to be.
When you share that last newsletter that you sent out to us, I'll put it up on my Instagram page so folk can understand exactly how you keep us informed, and you stay in touch. You keep us posted on what it is that happened that week, highlights of the week and things like that, so that the community can understand that connection.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So, this is what we have to do, my brother. And I just want to tell you how proud I am to be a part of the MasterMine University, and how I look forward to building with you and with the MasterMine University and all the scholars that are part of this program, because this is what we should be doing.
Yes, sir.
No more talk.
And I do want to tell anybody that wonders if the stuff that you talk about is real or not, because we do have scholars that talk the talk but don't walk the walk. And it's real, man. And I've been really impressed with just your openness and your availability to just chat and gather ideas together and things like that. I think more of our scholars should be doing work like that and helping, us to, a lot of my ideas, I bounced on you and just to get what you think about them. And, you've always been available. So I appreciate that. And I think that's part of, what we should be doing. And if we preach it, we should be actually doing it. And I know we talked about this as well. Like, there's a lot of people that's diagnosing what the problem is, and there's space for that. There's a lot of people that's saying what some solutions may be, but we need to have people that are experimenting on the solutions and actually in real time practicing what needs to be done. We're in a state right now where things are not improving for us, and we need action. We don't need any more problem. Like, I think everybody knows what the problem is, and obviously new problems do arise. We do need people that do that work, but we also need more people that are coming up with solutions and attempting to solve these problems. So I think that is part of where we need to go next as a community. And we know what the issues are. Black history is not being taught in schools. They don't care to teach that. Our kids are not getting educated in the right way. So we have solutions that can be implemented. In every community, we have doctors, we have lawyers, we have entrepreneurs, we have musicians, we have educators. Why can't we all come together and teach our community and do the best that we can? And again, we don't have to dedicate 8 hours a week. It could just be 30 minutes a week that you dedicate in order to educate the community. So I think these are things that we really have to start implementing if we want to see our children live a prosperous future and to continue to grow and develop our communities.
Absolutely, brother man. And I just want to tell you, I congratulate you. I congratulate all of the staff of the MasterMine University, all of the brothers and sisters that made it happen, to all the parents that made it happen. This is a model for the future. And I encourage folk to support this venture, because this is real. The people are very serious about what they're doing. And that's why I'm a part of it, because I know seriousness when I see it. And this program was a phenomenal program, and it's something that should continue. So I just ask us to support the MasterMine University. I know that I will be supporting it. My work will continue being part of the cultural, educational aspect of it. And I just encourage you to continue doing what you're doing, brother. I'm so proud of being a part of the MasterMine University. I'm proud of what you're doing. I'm proud of our friendship and all that we do. And so with that, brother, you've answered all of my questions. I have a good idea how to make things happen. This is your show. Even though I was asking you all them questions, I'm going to hand the mic back to you, brother man.
Hey, man, this was definitely a real moment for me, man. Like I said, part of my educational journey was watching your videos. And there's one, I don't know if I've ever told you this, but there's one lesson that I used to practice all the time with my students and showing them the connectivity of things, where you drew like a tic-tac-toe line and you identified 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, yeah.
And you separated it, and nobody can really understand. But when you put it together and you put the whole picture together, like, it made sense. And then from it being together, you can like separate everything. And that really challenged how I thought about things, because I started thinking more about things cohesively and then learning how to break it apart from that. So I think that was a big part of my educational journey as a teacher, just witnessing something like that real time and understanding, starting from the whole and then breaking it into pieces so that it could be understood. That was big for me. So again, I appreciate.
No doubt. And what you're talking about is the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. The left hemisphere breaks things into parts. The right hemisphere puts it all together. And the tic-tac-toe I was giving people a new number system. I have this lesson in my study guide. It's up on my webinar too. You go to kabakamene.com. It's on my webinar. And the webinar basically is saying that I'm going to give you a new number system. And I break up the pieces into 9 different new symbols of the numbers. And then I ask you to write the number 347. And everybody freak out because you don't necessarily remember what the new symbol for 3 was, or the 4 or the 7. But then I do a tic-tac-toe symbol, 2 lines, and I put the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I say, write the number 347. And there's, brother, as long as I've been doing this, there is an aha moment in the room when people realize that we break things into subjects, math, science, arts and crafts, you know. But the reality of it is that if you can find the unifying factor that brings all of those subjects together, the math of it, the science of it, the art of it. For example, when I taught first grade math, we would get into 1 + 2 = 2 + 4 =. And what I would do is that I would give them math homework, 10 problems, let's say, and I want you to solve 1 + 2 = 3, 2 + 4 = 6. But I also want you to draw the math. So they would draw 1 banana, and then plus 2 banana = 3 bananas. So what I was having them do was I was having them cross, it's called stereognosis. I was having them cross the left hemisphere to the right hemisphere, because the left hemisphere is where they did the math, but the right hemisphere is where they did the art. And so this is how we can teach our children. And these are the kinds of things that we're going to start to get into as we move forward with everything that we're doing.
Yes, sir.
So I just want to bring clarity to the example that you gave so that people could understand, you know, holistic education. The parts are very important to understand the whole, but if you don't understand the whole, how can you understand where the parts fit? And that is why the practical use of it is very important.
And this is the structure. This is the structure of MasterMine University.
That's it. Know? So, whole brain learning.
Yes, sir.
Not just
yes,
left,
sir.
not just right, whole brain. So,
yeah,
brother,
I appreciate you, man.
Oh, I appreciate you. I appreciate everything that you're doing, brother. I look forward to the future. I encourage us to bring your child on to this program. Invest in this program, because the more you invest, the statements of your support will make the program enrich itself. We got to build.
Yes, sir.
You can see what's going on out here now. Now it's time for us to do our thing. We did it before. We can do it again.
Yes, sir. And I would leave everybody with as well something to think about. Our ethos is your mind is the most powerful tool in the universe, right? So one thing to think about is, how do we develop that tool? How do we enhance that tool? How do we make that tool actually the most powerful tool in the universe through our children as they become adults? And a lot of times within our community, we develop the body, right? You know, a lot of us play sports and do all these different things, but the same thing that you do with the body, you should try to implement with the mind. So that's what we're trying to do with MasterMine, in the same way that we develop our body to develop our mind, so that we can really, you know, have this powerful tool that can do anything when the kids become adults. So just everybody remember that your mind is the most powerful tool in the universe. And if you can think it, you can do it. If you believe in it, you can be it. And if you fight for it, you can have it. The world is yours. Thank you, Professor Kaba, for coming on and interviewing me. That was really different. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I hope we got something. You know, I probably would never do this by myself. So I really appreciate you for making me do this and really explaining the program. I'm really I don't even think like that in regards to okay, I'm going to really explain the program and talk to everybody about this. So I appreciate you for bringing that to the table and allowing me to speak on the program and explain it to everybody. And if anybody has any questions or anything that they are interested in, either assisting or donating or, you know, signing up, definitely check out the website, mastermineuniversity.org, or you can email me directly at mrg.mastermineuniversity@gmail.com. All right. So thank you, everybody. Thank you, Professor Kaba, and we will chat. Appreciate you, man.
Peace. All power to the people.
Yes, sir.
So every day I'm going hard. I'm talking business, bank accounts, and credit cards. And somehow we defeat the odds and making sure that no one starve illegal. All you had to